Hey guys, Peter here to tell you about the latest from Hammer King, Kingdemonium, out August 19th on Napalm Records. The album has 10 tracks, 52 minutes in length, and this is the band's fifth full-length studio album. They are a German heavy metal, power metal band. As far as the design goes, this album has a classic feel to it. Some old school elements, some modern elements. As far as the old school goes, I like the fact that it's a side A, side B style record with a ballad in the middle, the seventh of the Seven Kings, a song that allows the record to breathe. It also allows the listener to rest because there is a lot of power, there's a lot of intensity on that side A, and without a song like this to break that routine, the album would be too much of itself within itself. It becomes a little bit too much for the listener to go through 10 songs that perhaps have too much in common. So this is a perfect track right in the middle. It resets your mind, it resets your expectations, it resets everything that you heard before, and it prepares you for everything that comes after. I love that design, I love that classic approach. Now, on the more modern side, I like the fact that they gave each song some uniquenesses to them, enough to give them their own individuality, but not necessarily too much to break them apart from one another. The album is grounded, the album is balanced, there is a sense of continuity, there is a sense of fluidity. This is a record that it's easy to tell where the red line is, and it's easy to follow that red line across all 10 songs, but you still need some nuances. It's not an album that gives you ups and downs, but it's definitely an album that moves sideways. It has lateral movement. Those nuances, very important. An album that changes speeds, that changes tempos, that changes momentum from track to track, and that's enough to create excitement, to keep you engaged, to keep you coming back for more, not allowing things to become monotonous, not allowing things to become boring. I really like the design. It enhances the overall quality of the sound and enhances the overall quality of the album itself. As far as the soundscape is concerned, this is classic heavy metal, classic power metal at its best, at its core, the way I like it. I see a lot of bands now moving more into this keyboard-driven sound, and I'm not a huge fan of it, and I'm glad to say that this album doesn't suffer from it. It's an album that depends heavily on the drums, guitars, and vocals to combine with one another in order for you to have a very thick, powerful, driven experience. That's how I want my classic heavy metal, that's how I want my power metal, and this album offers me that on a consistent basis across 10 songs. I like the production on this record. Sometimes on albums like this, you see the vocals drop a little bit into the background, being hidden a little bit in the mix. It's not the case here. The vocals are in the forefront. You see them guiding the experience, and then everything else behind it, pushing it. So from an overall sound perspective, this album is flawless. It sounds great. It feels great. It enhances the differences in the qualities of each and every single song, and it keeps you glued throughout the entire experience. Now, within that sound, I feel like I have to emphasize two elements, the drums and guitars. Those are the cornerstones of any classic heavy metal sounding record or any classic power metal sounding album. Now, on the drum side, I like the fact that they're not overpowering. On this album, I felt like they were more grounding the experience. They were more of the road that the guitars travel on. They add some thickness to the overall volume, but that thickness is also represented by the guitar sound all around. So it's a complement. The drums are complementing the sonic experience of the record. They're complementing everything that is happening, and they're complementing more than any other the guitar sound that sounds phenomenal. From the solos to the harmonies to the melodies to the rhythms, everything on this album guitar-wise is on point. I like the fact that the album has different forces or different intensities or different powers as far as guitars are concerned. This allows your eyesight to change ever so slightly from track to track. But then you have guitar solos that always come at the right time with the right sound, adding value to the songs. There's not a track on this record that you look at a guitar solo and it feels like it was just there because it had to be there. Every guitar solo on this album fits the purpose of the song, to enhance the quality of the track, to enhance the musicality of the track, and even to enhance the storytelling aspect that you see within the lyrical content. So the guitar work throughout the album is really consistent, really well done, and increases the quality of everything else around it. The cherry on top is the vocals. Titan Fox is phenomenal. He has that tone, that tonality that matches perfectly with classic heavy metal and power metal, and he changes ever so slightly from song to song depending on that intensity of the guitars, depending on how heavy they are, on how thick they are, because they are thick throughout, but there's different sizes or different thicknesses to them, and his voice matches perfectly to that thickness so you get the most out of it. I also enjoyed the backing vocals, the choir's backing vocals. They used them quite a bit throughout this entire album, but I didn't feel like it was too much. It didn't feel to me that it was something that took something away from the record or something away from Titan himself, because he's in the forefront. He is your guiding light. He is your narrator of the stories that this album puts forward. So the fact that they have him up front in the mix allows them then to use backing vocals and choirs almost ad nauseum throughout the album, but still not sounding repetitive, adding volume, making his voice sound thicker, bigger, matching the exact sound that's behind it. Perfect balance, perfect combination, works really well for this album and for the type of sound that they constructed for it. All around, this is what I expect a classic heavy metal / power metal album to sound like. It's definitely a step up from their previous record, Hammer King. This album is more epic. It has bigger sound, it has bigger vocals, it just sounds larger than life from start to finish. That light that shines really bright from the first song, it never really dims. Something I haven't seen necessarily consistently from them in the past, but they consistently did it on this album across all 10 tracks. So definitely a step in the right direction for Hammer King. This is a much stronger album than its predecessor. Now, as far as favorite songs are concerned, I want to start off with We Shall Rise. Great guitars, very powerful, very driven. The bass on this track complements the guitar sound, or should I say, the thickness of the guitar sound extremely well, and so do the drums. Then the vocals guide you, coming on top of everything else and telling you exactly where you need to go. Using the backing vocals allow that epic effect that this whole album has to really be enhanced, to be in the forefront, allowing the record and the track specifically to sound much bigger, almost cinematic at times. Everything has a big presence. The vocals with the backing vocals, the sound itself. It's a little bit more linear in the verses and then more explosive in the chorus, but it works well because that linear motion in the verses kind of guide you to that explosive nature of the chorus, so one sets up the other. The solo section is amazing. It's the perfect complement for everything that you've experienced up to that point and even to what comes afterwards. Consistency is the key for this song. It has power and it keeps it grounded throughout. Next we have Live Long Dynasty, one of my favorite songs. It's in my top 2 tracks of the entire record. I just feel like this is a banger. It's just a song that you want to play it, and you want to play it as loud as possible, as loud as humanly possible. You need to listen to this like just loud, because it has energy, it has drive, it has intensity, and it has melody as well. And the melodic nuances of this track sometimes hide the thickness and hide the heaviness really well, allowing the two to merge and becomes a more combined sound experience. The chorus is phenomenal, musically big, vocally even bigger. Talking about taking an epic track and pushing it all the way to 11. That's how this song feels. It's just, it's navigating, it's coming, it's just galloping towards you at every single point. It doesn't matter if you're in the verses, it doesn't matter if you're in the chorus. The chorus obviously is more catchy, more hooky, more explosive. The backing vocals behind it help all of that, but all around the song has tons of consistency, and that explosive nature, that galloping effect is there from start to finish. Last but not least, talking about galloping, the Four Horsemen. This is another galloping track. The sound on this song matches so well, not only to the title of the track, but to the lyrical content. The nuances that you see in the lyrics, or where the lyrics are taking you, are so well represented in the sound and how the vocal approach combines with that sound. This is also in my top 2. I mean, it's really hard to say Live Long Dynasty or the Four Horsemen. These two are tied for first as far as my 2 favorite songs on this record. They have a lot of similarities between them. They have a lot of those same epic elements, that galloping sound on the guitars, the thickness of the guitars, the backing vocals in the chorus, great vocals all around. So there's a lot of similarities to these songs, but yet they sound slightly different, and I think it's because of the melodic drive, how that melodic sound, how those harmonies intertwine with the thickness and heaviness on the guitar side. That's where the differences come in, and you're allowed to have songs that have perhaps more of a catchy, hooky chorus here, more of a driving force over there. A lot of similarities, but still a lot of differences. Allow them to be strong within themselves and stand out within the crowd of an entire album. This is it. Hammer King, Kingdemonium, out August 19th on Napalm Records. Let me know your thoughts on the band, on the singles. Use the comment section below. I'll be reading those and getting back to you. Take care, guys.